T-minus 60 seconds. T-minus 50 seconds. T-minus 40 seconds. T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 20 seconds. 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Welcome, everybody, to the 5 Foot Viking podcast, where you get to drink a beer and learn something new. As always, everybody, you can check out all the past podcasts by going to the 5footviking.com. It's right there at the bottom. And that is literally like a landing page where you can go and you can listen to it on Spotify. You can watch it on YouTube and Facebook and all the good stuff. And there's a Twitter and I don't know, there's fun stuff there. But just wanted to say I was looking in the backstage area of one of the accounts, and I just want to say thank you to the people who are in Canada and Mexico for tuning in. I think that is so crazy that I'm actually I'm reaching out to a couple different countries. So if you're in Canada and if you're in Mexico and you are tuning into the 5 Foot Viking, I really appreciate you. Thank you, guys. And everybody here that's local and everybody in the U.S., you guys are awesome. Thank you for the support. I really, really appreciate it. Also, in the description above and below, there are some links to some of the gear that I'm using. I get asked questions about that every week, about what microphone I'm using and what lights and cameras and stuff like that. So there's links to all that good stuff in there. And you know, I want to. It's funny because I was debating on how I was going to introduce my guest today, because he's done so much stuff in his life, and he's such an incredible guy and so much fun. But instead of talking about it, I just wanted to show you guys. So, my guest, Mr. Joey Fairchild, who is the director of productions for Entertainment Cruise Productions, which is ECP. They do a lot of the cruise charters that we perform on. I'm just going to show you a quick little video, which is kind of like the promo video for one of the cruise lines that we do, one of the cruise charters that we do. And so here we go. Check this out. And also, just so you guys know, the song that is playing in the background was written by Johnny Reyes and performed and recorded by all the members of Trial by Fire, which is the band that plays on the 80s cruise. So let's take a look at this.
Take my hand and come along with me. I'll take you to a place beyond your wildest dreams. A chance to live your life the way it used to be. When we were young and bold and life was so carefree. Are you ready? all hang out. It's time to lose control. Are you ready? Are you ready?
That was so awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Mr. Joey Fairchild to the show. Thank you so much for being here, my friend. I appreciate your time. Oh, I'm missing your audio. There it is.
Sorry about that. I was on mute. Whit, good to see you. Thanks. Cheers.
Absolutely. Cheers. Yes. Thank you for being here. I know it's a late night for you because you are on the East Coast. You're in Florida. And are you a night owl? Are you more of a night owl, or is it your bedtime?
No, I mean it's entertainment business all the time, so it's always more night than it is mornings. I mean, I catch myself getting up a little earlier nowadays.
Okay.
But yeah, it's still late nights. Still late nights.
Yeah, for everybody that is out there watching, I think I was frozen just a little bit at the beginning. I'm definitely trying to step up my my internet game here at the house, so I appreciate everybody bearing with me at the very beginning. But before we jump into some topics, because I got a lot of cool stuff that I want to talk with you about some cruises and some production and some stuff, we have to jump into, once again, ladies and gentlemen, my favorite segment of the show, which is the beer of the week. I want some beer. I think I'll have some beer. I fucking love this beer. I'm gonna drink this beer, bitches. Sorry, it was my first time trying that. We were talking last week about coming up with some jingles, so I literally just made that jingle not too long ago. Oh, thank you. So anyways, so the beer of the week, we're going to start off with Joey. Joey, what are you drinking tonight?
Yeah, I'm actually not drinking beer the whole month of April. It's just part of my silly diet.
That's okay.
But I got a few whiskeys. I'm starting off with some Jameson cold brew. That's what I'm on right now, and then we'll see what we switch to. But
oh, I like that.
I got a couple here. Yeah.
Okay, well, I brought two beers because I mean they're the same beer, but I brought two of them because I go through beer pretty quick. But the beer of the week today for me is coming up. It is Coachella Valley Brewing Company. It's called CDMX, a Mexican style lager, 5%. And I got this actually a good friend of mine, Ron, who was a bartender at the Fantasy Springs Casino out in Indio. He's a watcher of the show, viewer of the show, and he gave me these beers last week, and he said, "Hey man, try them out. Let me know what you think." So, Skull. All right. So give me your honest opinion, Joey. Should I redo that song because I wrote it and produced it myself, and I wrote all the lyrics to it as well. The I want some beer song.
That was the first time I saw it, and I laughed. I liked it. I think you should change it every week. I think that should be kind of the deal. Is the beer of the week song should change with the beer a little bit.
I'm with you on that. Okay, I think I can do it. It's only
the same vibe, but a little different spin on it. You know, I like
It's
it.
a 10-second thing. I can do that every week. I think I can. We got a couple people jumping in here. We got my good friend Mr. Schlitt, who was my drama teacher in 6th grade. He lived through the entire 80s. I love that. Um, we got my dad in Utah chiming in. Dad is here drinking his um, Vitarain, which I think is vitamin water. My dad's he's a vitamin water guy. I love it, love it. And Matt, I missed the cruise. Um, Next year, can't get here soon enough. This much is very true. Yes. Um, we're going to be talking about some of the cruises that are coming up. So with everything, before we get into the cruise lines, I wanted to talk a little bit about jump into the first backstage with Joey Fairchild. Now we go back maybe about 5 years or so. We met on the first the very second 80s cruise is the one that I jumped on.
2017, yeah.
Yeah. And we've been working well, and we still talk throughout the year because there's a big planning process and all that. But before this, give us a little background of where did you grow up? Did you grow up in Florida? Were you always part of production? Did you go to college? What give us a little backstory from yourself?
Yeah, I grew up on the road, literally. So I'm actually 5th generation entertainment. So my roots go all the way back to vaudeville is where we trace our beginnings of entertainment. So it's all I've ever known. It's all I've ever done. So even as a little kid, I was involved with show business. My parents were involved with producing and being involved with shows in Las Vegas. So at a very young age, I was sitting up in the technical booths in Las Vegas showrooms, and that's where I kind of got the production bug and saw all the guys pushing all the buttons and operating the lights and the sound. And I said, that looks fun. I think I want to do that. And again, that was a very young age, 10, 11. And then from there, I just kind of went with it. So it's all I've really ever known. I've never really had a quote unquote normal job or 9-to-5 job. So entertainment is all I've ever done.
And did you through high school and stuff like that, because that was part of like growing up around, you grew up around it, but in high school, did you go out for in any type of theater or anything like that? Like, did you try to apply what you knew into like school, or, how did that happen?
It was kind of the opposite. So I actually did homeschool my entire time, because same thing. Parents were involved with producing shows, traveling, all sorts of stuff. So traveled around with my parents the entire time. But then when we were home, had tons of friends who were in high school, even before high school, junior high and all that. So I actually brought the production element to their high schools. So at a young age, we DJ'd and we'd bring in lighting and we'd bring in all the production to do the school plays or whatever was going on. And do all that. So I never actually did like quote unquote real school. I did all, same thing, traveled around like that. And then when it became time for college, it was like, okay, looked at a few different colleges, looked at stuff out in California. Disney U at the time was doing a big technical program. There's a college in Florida here called Full Sail that did a lot of technical schooling, and visited all of them. And I kind of, not to pat myself on the back, but I kind of already knew what they were teaching at that time. So my folks were like, well, you can either do this or we can help you kind of start a business. So I kind of started my own little production lighting business at the time. And at like 20.
What year was this?
I would have been like 92-ish, I guess it would have been.
And how old were you when you started the business? You were 20?
No, I mean, I was running lights and doing stuff at, I like to say 13. I mean, I was even doing it before that, but 13 is when I take it serious, that I can look back and be like, yeah, I was doing this and I was around these production companies and around these bands and doing this kind of stuff. So I kind of say from 13, and I'm 45. So.
And when was the first time you kind of like jumped into like something that you're a kid, you're 13 now, granted you've been around it, so I'm sure it was kind of very familiar to you, but when was, like, did you have a moment maybe in your early teens or late teens where you jumped into something that was just kind of like, oh, I'm in some deep water now, I'm rubbing elbows with some rock stars right now?
It was because I grew up in it. There was never that wow factor of being around celebrities or stars or anything like that. That was just normal. I was, like I said, I was around Vegas production shows. I was around concerts. I was backstage. I was around all this. So it just seemed normal. It just
Mhm.
started becoming one of those where it's like, okay, this is what I want to do. And really lighting was what I wanted to do. And I wanted to be a lighting designer and a lighting director. And that was my first kind of charge and path that I kind of went for.
And what was the where was the turning point going into like production management?
Um, on one of my first kind of bigger tours I was on, I worked for an artist by the name of George Benson, who had a lot of big '80s hits. Actually, "Turn Your Love Around," and he had like jazz hits, and he was a smooth jazz artist and just a great artist and great person to work for. So I started working for him when I was just 21, and within 6 months of being his lighting director, I was upgraded or had the chance to become his production manager because they were having some internal politics, and I came on as just this young kid and was like, had all these ideas. And I was like, why don't we do this? Why don't we do this? The stage looks cool this way, but we could do it this way. And instead of the opening of the show being like this, why don't we do this? And I just had all these ideas, and they were like, okay, all right, kid, you want to give it a shot? So I became production manager and lighting director, because on a smaller tour like that, you can kind of run with two roles. And that was interesting because here I was 21 years old and telling guys, 45, 50, and even older at times, what to do. And they had been around and I was kind of new. So that was a challenge. But
Mhm.
that's when I really started kind of getting into the production side. And then from there, that just kind of opened up into a whole world of smooth jazz for a moment. And that's where I lived for close to a decade. I mean,
Oh wow.
yeah, we did, when I was with George Benson, we traveled the world. Every other year we were in Europe. We did a big co-headline tour in South Africa with Kenny G, and the doors kept opening and I kept meeting more and more people. And then that led to working with Dave Koz, which at the end of the day is what led me to working with the cruises.
Oh wow. So well, when you were doing all these tours and you were with George Benson and with and just going to Europe and doing this and doing that, do you have to employ like other? I mean, how many people do you have? Is it your your company that you're employing all these people, or are people subcontractors, and how does that work?
Yeah, on that stuff, it was really subcontractors. So, I was hired as the production manager and lighting director, and then it was my job to find, a guitar tech, or my job to find a sound engineer or whatever. And some of those people were already there, or if the job opened up, then it was my, job to work with the artist and management and find those people. But on something like that, pretty much everyone was um, subcontractors, and we ended up working directly for the artist.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure if there was like one umbrella company that just takes care of everything, and if that's you, like that's that you got to wear a lot of hats going through there and talking with everybody and coordinate everything. Um, and then so you said that then you moved from there into the Dave Koz, and that's kind of how you started with cruises.
Yeah, so I was working with Dave Koz, and then I'd worked with Dave Koz. I was probably working with him for 3, maybe 4 years, and he did a lot. He was great to work with, and we produced a lot of really cool stuff, especially his Christmas shows. We really did like a lot of production, a lot of props, a lot of we really wrote the show together, and it was really a good opportunity and stepping stone to really not just do the production element and get all the production and the lighting and the sound and the special effects ready, but kind of then the next step of we wrote the show together and we crafted the set list and did a lot of stuff like that. And then he had an opportunity to do a cruise, and it was Dave Koz and Friends. It was the very first one, and it was 2005 would have been the first one. And he was
Okay.
hired by Entertainment Cruise Productions, the company I work for, to do the cruise. And he said, "Yep, no problem." He go, and like any artist, they had their stipulations. He said, "One of my, things is you got to hire Joey to be the production manager."
Yeah.
And the people in charge were like, "No, we have our own people. You're coming on to do the cruise." And he put his foot down. He's like, "No," he's like, "I want my guy to run it." And so they interviewed me, and they were like, "Do you have any cruise experience?" And I'm like, I've been on a ship, but no. No, never run a cruise, never really done a cruise. And they're like, again, they were like, no way in hell, no way in hell. So they kept fighting and fighting, and he put his foot down. He's like, they're doing it. So we went out there, and I brought almost an entire crew who had never cruised before, and
Oh my.
we
Okay,
kicked
hold
it.
on.
We
Hold on
kicked
one
its
second.
ass, man. We kicked its
So
ass.
I was gonna say, like, you've never been on. I mean, you've been on a ship, but you've never worked cruise. But you've done production for years and years and years, and you've grown up in it. So, switching over to themed cruises. Now, you corrected me before, which I think we should talk about it real quick before we jump into this, because I've always called it cruise lines. I've always said, yeah, it's the cruise line that I work on. When people ask me about the '80s cruise, or they ask me about the Star Trek cruise, or the upcoming cruise that's the High Seas Rally, which we're super excited about that one coming up as well. I always tell people, yeah, it's we do all the cruise lines, which I was corrected today. So can you explain a little bit why it's not called cruise lines? Why what we do is
Yeah.
not called cruise lines?
Well, we work with a cruise line or cruise lines. So part of our job at Entertainment Cruise Productions is to pick ships. So
Mhm.
throughout the years, different cruise lines, as you mentioned, will approach us and say, hey, come check out this ship, or come check out that ship. We think this ship will work great for your program. And then part of my job and the rest of the team's job at ECP Entertainment Cruise Productions is to go around and look at all the different ships that cruise lines offer. And then we actually rent the ship. So we don't work for the cruise lines. The cruise lines almost work for us, you could say. We are using them as a vendor. So we go to different cruise lines and rent the ship for the week, take it over, and make it our own.
So
So
when I'm talking
we're
with my
really a
friends,
charter company. So we're a cruise charter company. So we do full ship charters. We take over the entire ship. So just like when you first started with us, you did the '80s cruise. When you did it, then we were on Celebrity, and then you
Mhm.
guys have done Star Trek cruise, which we've been on Norwegian. Right now, we've got both of those programs on Royal Caribbean on a new, bigger, badass ship. So we move around, and we always are looking at what cruise lines offer, what ships work great for the program. So
Mhm.
that's kind of the difference, if that makes sense.
How often do you I mean, you're approached all the time by cruise lines to check out their, I guess, their product,
Mhm.
their ship. How often do you find yourself leaning towards other companies?
We're always looking. That's the one thing with the cruises is there's so much planning that goes into it. It's not just working a couple months before the cruise. It's a couple years. We're always
Mhm.
ahead of it. The lineup is announced on the ship, which means that has to be in place. The ship has to be in place. The dates have to be in place. So there's a lot. There's a lot that goes in.
Yeah,
So
that's actually one of my topics I want to talk to you about is like the whole planning process. But um, so um, so with the cruise, oh, that's something that I wanted to talk about right now. So let me find this banner. Um, since we're already talking about it, um, I know that the planning process is probably ridiculous. Like you just said, it takes a couple of years sometimes to do this. But if you can give some of the viewers just maybe a little bit of the behind the scenes of like just how much hard work and effort it takes to plan, because we're on the cruise for 1 week. And when we get on the cruise, it's literally from the time that we're walking on. You've got girls handing out pamphlets and this and that, and then you have bars open, and literally it's go time from there. And that ship is moving like like a respiratory system. Like it's like just moving nonstop. The whole ship. You got like what 2,000 people on there, 3,000, something like that.
Yeah, 3,000 on the new ships. Yeah, on the
Oh
Royal
my
Caribbean
lord!
ships were 3,000.
And so the planning process that goes into that, if you can kind of back up, I don't know if you can start at the beginning and go down it, or maybe skim across the top, but like how much goes into that?
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a year. It's at least a year of planning. So, why we're planning one cruise, we're already looking forward to the next cruise, to the next cruise, to the next cruise. Like right now, we're planning 2022, '80s 2022 Star Trek, but we're looking at 23. You're always at least a year out.
Wow.
Because you have to. We have to have the dates in place. We have to have the ship locked in, the ports of call. You have to work on the lineup.
So
and
this
then
is
just
something
all
that
the
you all
planning,
do. You do all that. The
all
ports
of it.
that you go to, you
Not me,
coordinate.
but Entertainment Cruise Productions, the entire
Okay.
team. Yeah.
So ECP handles what ports you're going to, booking the ship, and obviously there's also making sure that there's people who are booking their rooms. There's obviously booking issues there, and there's production side. I'm sure you deal more with the artists.
Yeah, I mean, my role with Entertainment Cruise Productions is really even beyond the production scope of it. So, I mean, there's so many of us, but we're I head up a couple different departments, and a lot of what we do is all the planning. So we get the fun job. We get to plan when you guys perform, when all the different bands
Hmm.
perform. We get to help decide all of the parties, all of the theme nights, all of that kind of stuff. That every moment. So from day one, like you say, when the guests first walk on that ship, what that experience is going to be like, that's really what we're diving into. And we constantly look at it. We constantly say, okay, we're doing this. Is that going to work? Is this going to be better? Can we make it better? How can we change it? How can we make it new? What
Hmm.
worked? Let's not change it too much because that's what they like, but let's change it enough to keep it new. And there's all that. So
Well, that was something I was going to ask too, because we've been on the Star Trek cruise and the '80s cruise for the last 4 years, and 4 years, 5 years, I think, 4 years,
mhm.
and it's got to be difficult to keep thinking outside the box and finding things that work and things that don't. So and then moving towards the things that do, but changing them a little bit to make things still fresh. Is that a challenge within the group, or are you guys finding that it's are you getting ideas from some of the cruisers?
Totally. We always get ideas from the cruisers. I mean, we listen. We know what everyone's talking about. We know what they're saying. We sit down with them even on the ship and talk to them. What do you like? What don't you like? Um, Obviously, it's hard to make everybody happy all the time. So we
Absolutely.
really try to just pick what's going to work best for everybody. Yeah, it's difficult, but that's the best part. I mean, seeing everybody come together and just to have a great time is the most rewarding.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of the stuff that we've done on both cruises, it's been interesting. The Star Trek cruise. I know I talk about the '80s cruise a lot more. I think it's I you know I guess maybe I just relate to some of the music more than the Star Trek. But the Star Trek has been, to be honest, is one of my. I grew up on Star Trek: The Next Generation, so I'm one of those kids, and being in the rooms and seeing the actors like was kind of a little dream come true for me.
It's pretty cool,
Drinking
isn't it?
whiskey with Jonathan Frakes, William Riker. I was like, oh, I'm drinking scotch with William Riker. It was awesome. Um, my dad brings up a question right now. Let's jump into this real quick. He
Yeah,
says,
I see that down there. Yeah.
"What has been the scariest moment when what you had planned fell apart?" Um, yeah, I'm curious myself.
Um, it's show business, right? The show must go on.
Yeah,
It's an
absolutely.
old saying, but it's true. And I mean, you really have to stay with that. So I think the only thing scary about it is if the guests are going to be okay with it, right? Because
Mhm.
all you can do is adapt. I mean, we are like the entire crew and everybody running these things are kind of like ducks. We all look fairly calm from the waist up, but underneath, man, we're just paddling paddling our little fins off or our
Oh
little
man, that is the
flippers off.
greatest analogy I've
Um,
ever heard.
but that's what it's about. That's what we're hired to do. That's what we're trained to do. That's what we love to do. So, you know, sometimes the things that go wrong become some of the greatest moments also. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I mean, obviously you would like everything to go as you have it planned, but as
Mhm.
we all know in life, that just doesn't happen. So you have to adapt and go with it. And what's been great is, with all the cruises and especially '80s, I think more than any of them, everyone's really become where it's really about the family and it's really about being together, and whatever else happens is the cherry on top. So when things do happen, if an event gets canceled or you get weather or this happens, everyone really understands, and you just move on. and it's like,
Mhm.
hey, here's what they're doing for us next, and this is great. And yeah, so I don't know if it's really scary. It's more like the anticipation of, okay, this is what we're gonna do to change it. I hope they like it.
Well, I mean, I know you got a lot of that last year. Being at the beginning of the a lot of the shutdowns and stuff that it was pretty scary.
Yeah.
And we were in the Bahamas when everything happened. And I'll be honest with you, man, I wasn't even looking at the news because we were in the Bahamas. I didn't want to watch the news, but with a couple new additions that you had to, you guys were making stuff happen within hours.
I mean, it's a great company. Everybody just really, Chris and Greg, the owners, just, I mean, it starts from the top, and they want to make sure the guests are taken care of 100%. And they, when stuff was happening, the world was shutting down. We were the last concerts, the last events, the last party to happen really before the world shut down. I think we got off the ship the 14th and the 17th or something like that. The world shut down, or somewhere around there. So, a couple bands canceled. And I mean, we called everybody. Who wants to come out? Who? Doesn't matter who it is. Like, who? Don't care. We would have taken any band at that point just to like, hey, here's some more music. Here's something. Here's whatever. And it just,
Well, you went above and beyond when we got the word that the Whalers were coming on. I'm like, what? Like, are you serious? This is happening?
Great. I mean, sometimes
that was incredible. That was incredible.
Fun. And everyone pulled together. You guys have always been great. I mean, I remember, one of the first 80s cruises, we couldn't hit a port. We couldn't hit the private island because the weather was rough and the waves were rough. And it was one of those ones where we had to get in a boat. And so I remember calling one of the other guys in the band, Billy, with you guys, and just saying, hey, Billy, we're going to need you guys to jump in and help out. What can you do? And he's like, yeah, let's do this and this. And it's like, it just happens. Some of those events become long lasting then.
Yeah. I definitely remember that. We were looking forward to jumping off, me and my wife, Marlene, and we were looking forward to it. And I get the call because we were in our room and everything was kind of moving a little bit. And I get the call, and as soon as I picked it up, I looked at my wife. I'm like, so I'm playing today. And she goes, it's all good. Hey, this is what we're here for. Let's do this. Let's make it happen. So, and we make the best of it. And I think we did some Cobra Kai karaoke. We made it happen, and it was good times. We got we have Richie joining us.
The Prom
Hi guys.
King, 2020 Prom King, Richie.
The Prom King joining us. Thank you for joining, man. Appreciate you being here. Thanks for listening. My lovely wife, who's in the other room watching because I'm in the quote unquote studio, which is the corner of my bedroom. The 80s cruise is so much fun. I'm always very impressed by the amount of work the whole team puts in. Yes, very much. And here's another question that she has. Joey, which part of putting the whole production together is your favorite? I'm sure there's a lot of work, but is there something that's kind of just clicks and you're like, okay, I like this part?
I mean, it's the same no matter what I'm doing. No matter if I'm doing the cruises or if I'm on tour or anything, you can have the worst days in the world or the hardest days. And as soon as the crowd roars, it's all worth it.
Yeah.
It's all worth it. So first sail away party, first show, first anything, just, hearing that crowd roar. And same thing on tour, it's still the best as the house lights go out and the crowd roars,
Okay, it's game time.
Yeah.
I love that. For me, I'll never forget this. It was one of the days, it was I want to say it was an evening, and I know that you guys were going through a lot of planning, a lot of stuff, but then you came out onto the stage and you had this box full of glow sticks, and you're like, you know what? The look on your face was like, we're going to have fun tonight. And you just threw them up in the air, and you were throwing all these, because there's all kinds of cool little merch that you get the chance to throw out and have some fun with, which is pretty cool. So my good friend, Brenda Wooten, who, she is part of World According to Woot. They have a podcast on Wednesdays. She was on my podcast a few weeks ago. She has a good question right here. She says, what is the longest period of time that you've been on the ship?
I think the longest period was, we probably did 4 week-long cruises back to back and then a pre-cruise. So probably 5 weeks.
So 5 weeks. So
Yeah.
5 weeks on the cruise. I mean, you obviously get a chance to jump off at some of the ports
Sometimes.
occasionally, but you basically lived on the ship for 5 weeks.
Yeah, which is nothing compared to the crew who are out there for 6 months. But yeah, 5 weeks.
Shh. How do you do that, dude? Like, okay, here's my question. If you're staying out there, because here I stayed on for the longest I was on for 2 weeks. I think that was
right?
Star Trek 2 weeks in a row, or it was like Star Trek and 80s back to back.
Yeah.
And what tripped me out was, okay, I guess maybe I don't have the discipline that I should have, but I mean, I must have gained 27 pounds in those 2 weeks, man, because like the food, the drinks, the having fun and party atmosphere. How do you, because you're a skinny dude, bro. Like you're like
I lose
7
weight on
foot
the
something,
cruises.
but you're like how do you stay in shape, bro?
I lose weight on the cruises because it's so busy and because we run the stairs and the amount of steps we put in. The first couple of years we did cruises, we all had the step counters and we're like, oh, let's see what we do. And we get to like, we did 20 some miles today or something. Like, we don't probably need to know that anymore.
Well, I mean, do you eat at the buffet like everybody else does?
Yeah,
Or
I mean, when we get time. I mean, a lot of times we're having food delivered into our offices and stuff because it's busy, but it's good. That's
well, you
what we
guys
get to
have
do.
super late nights, super early mornings. Like I don't even know how you sleep and how you function on the ship. Like do you go for 5 weeks and then just like turn off your phone for 2 weeks and sleep?
Don't turn off the phone and sleep for 2. Do sleep quite a bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
That the first day getting home is definitely like crash. And then that's, usually don't get sick on the cruise. Don't have any issues. And then as soon as we get home, it's like your body just kind of says, okay, you're done working. And you just kind of die. Yeah.
I'm with you. I do that for 1 week and I come back and I need a vacation from the working vacation that I was just on. But I knew we were going to get a couple of these. And this is my good friend, Mr. Jim Wooten, who is the bass player for a few different bands. He plays in a Led Zeppelin tribute band called Led Zeppelin. He does a lot of cruise lines as well, and cruise charters. Apologize. I need to get that correct. I need to stop saying cruise lines. But
no relation to Victor Wooten?
No, but but Jim is definitely a badass bass player. That's for sure. Actually, he plays with an Eagles tribute band as well that I get a chance to fill in with whenever he's double booked. But Jim and also my wife has the same question: is it looking like it will be mandatory for guests and musicians to be vaccinated before going on cruise lines? And I knew that this was a question that was going to come up. And I'm kind of curious as well if that's going to be something that's going to happen. I don't know. Do you have any input on that?
So we're on the phone and have meetings with the cruise lines weekly, and the cruise lines don't know. Nobody knows right now is the honest answer. Like there has not been an official word. Some cruise lines have decided to go out and say they're going to do one way or the other, but the majority of the cruise lines haven't said because they're still going back and forth with the CDC and everything else. So there is no real answer yet.
Do you think, because you probably have a lot more information than most people because you talk with the cruise lines a lot, but is that something that they're just waiting to find out from what the CDC says, or is that something that they can mandate on their own?
That's a great question. I don't know. You see
I just figured I'd throw it out there.
No, you see it happening in the world right now. Like it seems like, there's some cruise lines are going to other countries right now and cruising out of there. And I mean, they're just going back and forth. They're just, the world's kind of a mess, I guess. But it keeps going in the right direction and everything keeps clearing up and we see more and more keep opening everywhere. And I don't have the answer. I wish I did.
Yeah. No. It's I appreciate the honesty. I think that that's literally the best thing that we can have right now is just, I'd rather get an honest answer from somebody than somebody blowing smoke up our asses, right? But I think that I'm sure that ECP will be letting people know as soon as they know what's happening with that as well.
As soon as we know something's 100% in the way it's going to be, then we put it out there right away.
We got our good friend, Mr. Chuck. Chuck coming up. Hey guys, and he says, "Is that a Corona?" That is not a Corona. No, it is a Coachella Valley um, Mexican style lager. From I got it from a friend of mine, Ron, out in And what are we switching to now, Joey? What are you switching to now?
We're going to some Horse Soldier. Horse
Ooh.
Soldiers, pretty nice. And down here in Florida, they have a distillery, but it's pretty good. Good story behind it. It's good stuff. Great restaurant down here
What's the
also.
story? Let's hear this.
Well, it's they were like the they called themselves the horse soldiers, but it's a whole thing with the Iraq War, and they were like some of the first guys on the ground and all that. And there was a movie about them, and yeah, a lot of interesting stuff.
Oh, here's a question from
make
Ron.
whiskey.
And you know what? When I come to Florida, you know what? I just need to come down and hang out with you. I want to come down and have some whiskey with you, dude.
Come on.
I'm mostly a whiskey guy or Scotch guy, but for the entertainment purposes of the 5 Foot Viking, we have beer of the week. So I gotta jump into the beer.
You gotta get that good theme song out there.
Yeah, that good theme song every week, bro. That's gonna be dope. I love my beer. Gotta drink some beer. We got Ron, who Ron is the gentleman who gave me this beer from Coachella Valley. Wrong one. I think I got this one. He says, "How nice are the cabins on the ship for entertaining performers and stagehands?" Which I can attest that I have. Every time I go on the cruise, they always give me the penthouse. They know that the 5 Foot Viking's coming on, and they treat me well.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
And I'm sorry that those brooms and those buckets are in there, but that's really how the penthouse comes decorated. So it's weird, but it really is the way it comes decorated.
I like the decoration. The decor is fantastic. It has a leak very specifically that I requested, and no, but I can tell you that the rooms that we get are great. We put everyone in passenger rooms. So because we rent the ship, again, we're not working for the cruise line. We rent the ship for a week, so we take over all of the public rooms. We don't take over any of the crew rooms. So yeah,
all the musicians, all of the crew, everybody is in all passenger rooms.
Yeah, and but I want to say that the crew for the ship, the bartenders, the waitresses, the cleaning, they all have something completely separate from where we are.
Yeah, they're all in the ship crew quarters and all that, which we don't control.
Yeah. We got Mr. Kevin Hamill from Maine jumping on, saying hello. Good to see you, Kevin. Thanks for jumping on. I know it's super late, but appreciate you being here, brother. And I love that we have like cross chatter between people commenting, "What's up, Prom King?" "What up, Prom King?" Love that, Kevin. And I love this. My wife definitely makes a good point. You are barely in the room. The 80s cruisers can party. This much is very true. And with that being said, I wanted to ask you, because we weren't on the very first 80s cruise, because if I'm not mistaken, Billy, our lead singer for Trial by Fire, he was actually playing the week before the very first 80s cruise, and he was on the ship with you for one of the smooth jazz cruise, I think. And you had mentioned to him, "Hey, stick around, sing some songs, do some stuff, check out this new cruise that we're doing." And so he stayed on for the 80s cruise, and that's where we figured out we would get our Trial by Fire on there. But I heard so many stories, and I want to ask you personally if there's any validity to it. Everybody says that the first 80s cruise, they drank the ship dry by day 3. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, not everything, but there was definitely... And I don't remember what it was. I want to say maybe Fireball, and there might have been a couple other things, but they definitely ran out. And when we got to San Juan, we definitely restocked from other ships.
Yeah, we got Chuck here. Yeah. We drank it dry.
We did. It was a crazy one. But yeah, Billy was on the week before. We were doing one of our other cruises, a jazz cruise. And Billy was like, "Man, this 80s thing sounds great." And he's like, "We do this and we do this." And we had the opportunity. We had, a couple people we knew weren't showing up. So we had a couple cabins empty, and we're like, "Why don't you stay on? There's a piano bar. Maybe you do some stuff there and just get a vibe for it. This is going to be a cruise that lasts." So we see you guys being involved, and he stuck around and did some stuff. And he was like, "Oh yeah, Trial by Fire is coming on next year."
Yeah.
And we said yes.
Well, I mean, I can't thank you enough for taking a chance on us like that. And we do our best every year to try and up the ante and we want to perform well and do what we're there to do. But man, you definitely it's been a blessing to not only go on these cruises and visit these places and perform these shows, but to me it's all about the relationships that we build. This watching the intro video, and for those of you that are jumping on a little bit late, watch it later. Go back. We put the 80s cruise video up on there, and man, it's just literally you watch that video. And I'm like, oh, I know them, and you've created these relationships with people that are now we still talk on social media. We talk on, and it's that's one of the coolest things about not just the 80s cruise, but the Star Trek cruise as well. The Star Trek cruise, and I can't wait to do the High Seas Rally cruise and get more friends from that cruise as well. And now, have you guys done the High Seas Rally cruise before, or is this the first year?
So this will be 2021 will be the first year that Entertainment Cruise Productions is running it 100%. So it's the background of the cruise is it is the world's only biker rally on a cruise ship. And that's exactly what it is. It is a motorcycle rally. It's all motorcycle people, riders, bikers, and like-minded people all out on a ship for a week. There's a good portion of people that ride into Florida, park their bikes, and then get on the ship. There's a lot of people that fly in, but everyone gets on the cruise. It's been going on for 20 years, and the old owners were getting to retirement age. And they had been with Royal Caribbean for almost the entire time. Asked Royal Caribbean, hey, who would you recommend taking over the cruise? Because we'd like to see it continue. And Royal Caribbean said, you got to talk to ECP. They do a great job. They really, treat everyone well and look out for the guests. So we met with them, started talking with them, cut the deal. And we went on the 2019 cruise and did kind of a handover. And then we're supposed to do 2020. And then with COVID and everything, had to push it to 2021.
Yeah.
But, yeah. And it's awesome. So we're out there raising it's the one cruise that has a massive charity aspect. So one of the charity aspects of it is a dialysis fund, the High Seas Rally Dialysis Fund. So they raise all this money to bring dialysis patients out who usually wouldn't get to take vacations or get to do this kind of things because they have to get dialysis treatment daily at a certain time and all this stuff. So a big portion of it is raising money for that. And they get 10, 12, 15 dialysis patients out there to get all expenses paid for. We're also tied in with Wounded Warrior Project on that one. And it's a cool cruise. Not as much music, but we do have Trace Adkins, Foghat, Molly Hatchet, Steel Rod, which is your band.
That's so amazing. Yeah. That's wow.
So they're raising money. We give away like $200,000 plus in prizes and cash for all the rallies. There's a bunch of motorcycle builders who bring on custom bikes. One of them, Xavier Muriel, who was the ex-drummer or the original drummer of Buck Cherry, who now has a motorcycle, custom motorcycle company. He's building a custom bike for the cruise. We give that away, and it's just a good time,
That's I'm even more jazzed to do this. This is so cool that it's connected to some charities and some feel good stuff,
Yeah. So it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a lot of fun. You guys are gonna love it.
Well, we got Matt here saying Trial by Fire is awesome. I would have to agree. I love what you guys bring to the cruise. Thank you so much. And we have Kevin who says, love my Joey. Any chance of getting Spinal Tap at some point? Is that possible? Love that guy.
As soon as you see those guys do a reunion tour,
I'm totally down.
So
Let's
Matt
do this.
Regal, you got to go to Matt Regal. Matt Regal keeps coming back with the same question. He's like,
all right, let me jump into this one.
Talk a little bit about choosing the bands. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Can you talk a little bit about how you choose the bands? I'm sure that some bands are resistant to being on a ship. Now, do you find that is that difficult to get some people to
Yeah.
jump on there?
And I know Matt from the 80s cruise. So
Yeah.
just talking 80s cruise. 80s cruise is tough. I mean, there's a ton of 80s bands, but there's a ton of 80s bands that either don't want to have their name tied in with the 80s, believe it or not. They're too cool
Really?
for school. They're too cool for school. And as soon as it's a generational that genre based, they want nothing to do with it. And then there's those who just don't want to be on a cruise ship too. I mean,
Wow.
it's a tough thing. So, every year we spend months and months and months trying to figure out who the lineup is going to be. And we talk to bands, and it depends on the year too. You talk to a band one year and they say, no way I'd ever cruise. And then they hear something from somebody else or another band, and they're like, you know what? Yeah, maybe it's worth a shot. And then they're up for it, and they're willing to do it. We're excited to have 38 Special on board. I had a chance to work with them on one of our past cruises. We did a NASCAR cruise. They were involved with that. Those guys are awesome, but even getting them on NASCAR back then was really tough. They just
Wait a minute.
sure
You have a NASCAR cruise?
We did. That was one of the cruises we did for a minute. Yeah, we had NASCAR. We had Dale Earnhardt Jr. out there, and it was a bunch of NASCAR drivers and a bunch of bands, and it was like I think we called it like a floating tailgate party. But we had 38 out there, and they were awesome. And those guys are just great, and they're going to be really great on the ship. So we have a little bit of history with them, and then even bands like Berlin and Terry Nunn have been so great for the 80s cruise because they all talk. They all go back and talk to each other, and they'll talk to a band who's like, yeah, I don't think I could ever do a cruise, and then Terry be like, oh no, this isn't what you think it's going to be. It's awesome. You're not going to be bombarded by the fans. You're not going to have this. You're not going to have that. Everyone is great. Everyone's super nice. Come and do it, and then people do it. So to answer Matt's question, yes, it's a challenge, and we always try to keep it new, but there's definitely resistance at times.
Yeah. Well, and jumping back to Terry real quick, because everybody in Berlin has just been amazing. And we've met them a few times, being from LA, we kind of jump on the same flights occasionally, and we meet them at the airport and stuff, and just incredible people. Such an amazing asset to the cruise. Great ambassador. Super cool. Lots of fun.
And that's something that people should realize too. Like, if you took the 80s cruise and filled it with 100% new bands that had never been on a cruise, you would hear new music, but you wouldn't get the experiences that you get. It takes bands being out there and understanding the way it works and bringing other bands with them along the journey and pull them out of their cabins to a degree. Again, Terry Nunn and you guys and everybody saying, hey, come do this.
Yeah.
And you guys and Jesse's girl and everybody saying, hey, come jam with us or come do this because this is how it works. And getting other artists who have been there to say, yes, that's cool, do it. That's what makes it experience, and that's what makes it really cool. And then you get those that want to come back, like, Modern English has been asking since year one to come back. They've had such a great time, so they're coming back, and they're super excited, and they know what to expect. So, you'll get guests who are like, we wish you weren't bringing back a repeat band, but sometimes those repeat bands is what's going to really be fun because they know what to expect. They're going to be out of their shell, and they're going to go over the top to make sure the guests have a great time.
Well, and that's what's been so much fun, being a reoccurring artist on the ship with other reoccurring artists. We always jump out of the cabins, and some of the most special nights are when you just get together and jam, and we're at some like a piano bar or something, and Tiffany shows up and she starts singing, and like we show up and Sheila E shows up and starts playing drums. Like, I mean, stuff like that is just magic that if everybody's waiting in their rooms, you don't see that magic happening. So that's been so much fun. And like even a couple times having some of Jesse's Girl come up and jam with us, going over and Dave Schultz jamming with him, the piano guys jamming with them, Kevin Hamill jamming with them, and like everybody kind of going to everybody's shows. And it's special. It's so much fun to watch this stuff happen, and I'm just so grateful to be a part of some of it. It's been such a blast to do that.
And you guys, a lot of people won't know this or realize this, but Trial by Fire, and especially some of you guys, had a lot to do with Cheap Trick's attitude. So many of you guys knew the Cheap Trick behind the scenes guys and some of the band.
Yeah.
And we're just like, hey, no, you guys are gonna have fun. You guys are gonna have fun. That when they got on the ship, you guys had already kind of endorsed it. And so all that is so important.
Yeah. That's I'm kind of curious about this, about Chuck's question here. I'm not really sure what this means. Will the 80s cruise ever become a retro cruise as we run out of touring 80s acts? Will you include some early 90s acts? And I'm kind of curious, is that something that, yeah, would you are you looking at maybe merging that with maybe some 70s acts or some 90s acts, or maybe just doing a whole other cruise?
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, we've talked little bits of stuff when you look at lineup, and I'm always very cautious of taking it to 90s. So there will be bands that came out in 89 or their big hit was 89, and I kind of feel like that's 90s, and I think that's a different cruise. I think when we decide to launch the 90s cruise, that works.
Yeah.
70s I think works a little bit more because you heard the song and you were still growing up with it, or you knew where you were, you know what I mean? So I think it can work a little more. And like even the last theme night, 1979 into 1980 New Year's Eve was a big hit, and it was because everyone who still loved the 80s remembered that and knew that. So I think there's a little bit of room for that, but I think it's important for us to try to stay as true to 80s as we can and not really mix 90s into this or that. Let the 80s cruise be the 80s cruise, and we can always create something else for the others.
We have Thomas has this is an interesting question. How often do bands who have done the cruise help you guys sell the cruise? Is that something that you look into, like other bands promoting, other bands pushing people your way? Is that something that happens a lot?
You mean like a band just vouching for us and saying it's a cool atmosphere?
I don't know. I guess I would take this more like, is there certain acts that help you sell out the cruise faster than another act?
I mean, that's all personal opinion, right?
Yeah, I would think so too.
There's going to be some people who say, love this band, love this band, love this band, this is why I'm booking. And there's going to be other people who say, don't like that band, I'm booking for this. So it's all...
Well, one thing that I did like is a lot of people, as much as there's big hype around the big acts, we've had a lot of support with Jesse's Girl and with Trial by Fire, the two house bands that we have on the cruise. It's and we're just talking about the 80s cruise, obviously, but it's been fun, and it's been just very rewarding, I guess is a good word to use, for just to see that people have really they go and they watch us and they come out and they book because they want to see Jesse's Girl, they want to see Trial by Fire, which is and also Chuck says Katrina was awesome. Yes, yeah, Katrina was awesome.
I really think the 80s cruise has become more about the experience. It's about the experience. It's about going out there, having a great time, going out there, seeing the friends that you've made, meeting new friends, and then all the bands is the cherry on top. And yeah, there's going to be those 6 or 7 big bands that are, the headliners or whatever you want to call them. And then there's going to be some of the smaller ones and this and that. But a lot of times the smaller ones those are the hits. Those are the ones that surprise everyone. Everyone always is like, oh, it's going to be this band or that band. But it's, someone said Katrina was awesome. Katrina killed it. That's why we brought her back. That's how Terry Nunn started. That's how Berlin started. Berlin wasn't supposed to be on the main stage. Berlin was scheduled for one of the other venues. We had a late night show for them in the main theater, and it was ridiculous. It was so crazy that we're like, there's no way we can put them in the small room again. And it just, that's the way it became. I mean, those are the surprise aspects. It's fun. All the cruises are so great. So lucky to be part of it.
Yeah.
You know, just being in the music industry and being around all this is great. I'm very blessed.
Well, my wife puts up something good. Now, if everybody knows me, they know I don't read very well, and English is not my strong suit. So I'm going to do my best to read this because my wife just wrote a periodical right here. But it says, just want to say, this is from my wife, Marlene. She says, just want to say, witnessing the 2020 cruise and knowing from Wit how crazy it was from the production side, trying to get last minute bands and keeping the guests entertained at the same time. Wow. You did it flawlessly, and the cruisers were amazing, keeping the party going. Great job. I always have such a blast. Thank you. And I'm pretty sure I can talk, I can speak for a lot of the cruisers, if not all of them, that, yeah, last year was probably, I mean, you correct me if I'm wrong, but you probably met the most obstacles last year on the cruise than you have in plenty of years before that. And you guys killed it.
Yeah, I mean, it was challenging for sure. I mean, it was every time we turned around, you know, we were getting another something thrown at us, you know, another curveball, and but it was also super rewarding because the guests were just, they really were. The majority of everyone was just over the moon. They knew how hard Entertainment Cruise Productions was working to make sure that they had a good time. They knew that, you know, it was out of our control, and we were just doing what we could do to give them the party of a lifetime. And at the end of the day, most people left saying, I wouldn't trade it for the world, and I wish I could go back there right now because that was the last time I had a really good time before the world shut down. I mean, we had a blast. Was it the way you wanted it to go? No. But how much in life does go the way you want it to go?
It worked out, bro. That's for sure. And Tim is also saying, I also want to give kudos to JT for an awesome job that he did on 2020. And yes, JT, shout out to JT for killing it always, and everybody in the production and that's working with you guys. We're getting a lot of people jumping in. I love this. Darcy, hey, how are you, Darcy? Can he tell the story about the Whalers, about how I'm assuming how the Whalers got on? Yeah, that surprised all of us. That was really cool.
That was one of those, I don't remember. We were at sea, and we were calling everybody. And there was one of the agents was actually on board, and he's like, I represent the Whalers. I think they'll come do it. And we were like, okay, sounds fun. We're in the Caribbean. It works. It's another band to bring on. And they were pretty much like, yeah, we'll work, we'll come. And so we were booking flights and going through the whole deal, and they were troopers and jumped out there, and they were a lot of fun.
And I also want to throw out, am I not mistaken, when was it Cool in the Gang that stepped up and stayed on? Like they were supposed to jump off, and they stayed on for the whole cruise.
Yeah. Cool in the Gang came on. I think Cool in the Gang, we got one, maybe Dire Straits Legacy. Dire Straits Legacy wasn't allowed to come because they were coming from Italy. So we knew that one like 2 days, 3 days ahead of time, whatever it was. It was super last minute too. So Cool in the Gang, jumped in, and they were a hit. They're always a great time. We've worked with them a ton.
Is it switching gears just a little bit to talk a little bit more about the Star Trek cruise? How difficult, or is it a whole different mindset when you are dealing with actors versus musicians?
Yeah, I mean it's like all that, right? Actors want actors want to be musicians. Musicians want to be actors.
Yeah,
you know?
And I just want to be production.
Yeah, no, they're really the same way. They're really the same way. There's a few of them that are on every single cruise, and it's because they know how it runs. They know when there's problems and things happen that, hey, we got to jump in and do this. And there's been events that have come from those issues that are now long time, every year events. Just a great cruise again. So much fun and awesome people. Same thing. It's I think that one, because I grew up more around music, that one is almost more to go back to your earlier question, if I ever get starstruck, like when John Delancey calls and leaves a message and it's, "Hello, Joey, this is John Delancey. Please call me back." And it's like, "Who's John Delancey just called me?" That's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool, actually. Yeah, yeah.
Like, yeah, because same thing. TNG, The Next Generation, Star Trek. I watched
Yeah.
all that, so it was
That was
very.
that was my thing. And
Think you
I'll be
did.
honest, like when I jumped into the first Star Trek cruise that I did, I remember because when we get there, we go to the host hotel, and then in the morning we all take the bus and we go, and I'm getting on the bus and I got on late and I'm walking down the aisle, and it's like I felt like Forrest Gump, like when you're walking by and like can't sit here, seats taken, like all that stuff. But like I'm walking down, but when it's when you're looking at Worf and Data and and Dr. Crusher, and I'm like, this is insane that I'm on the same bus with these people. It was so cool, and I got to be honest, uh, all of them were very very nice. But one who stood out the most was Gates McFadden, Dr. Crusher.
Sweetheart.
She is amazing.
Her and I like text back and forth throughout the year. We talk about different things. She writes and says, "Hey, I got an idea for a show. You ready?" I'm like, "Yeah, let me know." And then she's like, "Oh, well, let me think about it some more." And then she doesn't think I'm going to respond that quick because,
she's so nice. I remember we got off one of the ports, I think. And it was on the first cruise, and we didn't know each other because on the Star Trek cruise, it's the same band, which is Trial by Fire, but we go by the name Band 47, and so it's all the same guys. And we got off. I can't remember what port, but we got off and we were doing something, and I guess she was coming back from something. I was coming back, and we ended up walking right next to each other, and I didn't even know. And I look over, and I'm like, "Oh, this is awesome." And I struck up a conversation and we just started talking. She's one of the nicest people. And then the very next year, she came over because all of us were before we jump on the ship, we're all kind of huddled in this room. And they're checking credentials and passports and this, and getting all the paperwork done before we can, because the artists, we jump on the cruise on the ship before the passengers do. So we're getting everything ready. And she came walking over to all of us band were sitting there, and she goes, "You know what? We're all on this cruise together and we don't really know each other. Is there something that we can do together?" And the fact that she was so willing to include us in something, like, "Hey, let's put something together." I think she said she was writing a song and she wanted to talk about the band. And she got our names and what we played. And I just thought that was, it was just really, really cool to see that from somebody on the cruise. So I just wanted to throw that out there. I want to make sure she knows that is noticed for sure.
I'm sure she's watching.
I hope so. That'd be great. That would be awesome.
She just texted me. She said she loved the beer commercial song, the beer song. She loved it.
I love the beer. I want to drink the beer. But with the Star Trek cruise, and having actors and having all that stuff, you're pretty much doing the exact same thing, only it's not music based. It's just theater based.
Yeah, I mean, it's what the coolest part about the Star Trek cruise is we've given the actors the opportunity to do things that they wouldn't usually do. So it is not like a convention. So when you go to a Star Trek convention, you do the autographs, you do the photographs. They have a panel and they talk about the series they were on and their experiences and filming. But what we've really tried to do with the cruise is give them the opportunity to step outside and do other stuff. So many of them, being actors, being from the theater, produce one-man shows or produce shows together, plays, and then some of them do cooking classes, like a lot of the stuff you see on all of our cruises, but really outside the box. Some of them do stand-up comedy. I mean, some of these actors have some of the dirtiest jokes. You've been it's just, and they just do other stuff that you wouldn't see anywhere. And that's the coolest thing about that cruise. The most rewarding thing about that cruise, again, is the guests. But what's great about it is we create a bubble. We create a Star Trek bubble from the moment those people walk on the ship to the moment they leave. They're immersed in Star Trek. They don't have to worry about being teased. They don't have to worry about the way they look, the way they dress, or changing anything. You're Star Trek 24/7 for 7 days, where when they go to conventions, they still have to walk through a hotel lobby or leave the convention center to go somewhere else, be looked at a certain way or whatever, and they shouldn't have to deal with that. And that's really the greatest thing about that cruise is 100% their world. that we create for them so that they can just enjoy it. And it's really cool. We call it the theme park at sea internally. Yeah.
No, it really is. And that's we do a live band karaoke show there, and we had someone, I don't know her name, but she came up and she was dressed like a Klingon. Full on Klingon.
Things in Klingon.
She sang in Klingon. I was blown away how, and everyone there is just, it's the same thing. Everyone's there is to have a great time. And everybody, like, I love what you said. It's just that in everybody's so loving to each other, and hey, we're all here to have a good time, and people dress up. And it's so great. People come up with some great costumes too on both cruises, the 80s cruise, the Star Trek cruise, great costumes. We have Darcy here is jumping on real quick. She says, how many people work for you in the off season on pulling together the 80s cruise? How many people do you have in your office?
So Entertainment Cruises Productions, we produce 6 to 7 different theme cruises a year. So there's probably, I think there's probably about 40, 50 full-time employees, because we run the sales, the marketing, the production.
Oh, wow.
All of that. So,
and is everybody based in Florida?
No, the home office is actually St. Louis. So, when you call, when you book, if you're not booking online, you may talk to, Alan or Jamie or any of these folks, and you'll see them on the cruises, because they're the same people that come out, so they work for us year long. And then I live in Florida. There's a few of us that are scattered around that don't have to be in St. Louis, but yeah, so it's a big team. It's a big undertaking.
And what about the, this is one thing I'm curious, because I love Tim and the everybody who works with us hands-on, as far as like monitors and backline and, the sound for our stages. Is that also part of ECP, or is that a separate company?
So they are all people that I and the other management all put together as a team. So yeah, Tim Berkebile and like all these people we bring together. They do all the cruises for us. Some of them work for other vendors. So some of the sound vendors or lighting vendors that we bring on board, they'll work for, and we try to get the same people all year. But some of them we just, hire to come out and do the cruises. A lot of people are from the touring world, and they just mark their calendars for every, February and March to come do the cruises with us. And I've been doing this 16 years, I guess, with the cruises, and most of those people have been with us the whole time. And that's what makes it great, because we're a family as well. And everybody really knows that if, you're moving left, they need to move right, or whatever it is. Everyone knows each other. There's a little,
do you guys get together outside of the cruise season?
Yeah. All the time, especially everyone in Florida.
That's so cool.
Everyone in Florida. Yeah. So we try to get together all the time, because that's really what makes it is, same thing. Just like the guests are a family, we're a family too.
I love it. Tim's watching. Love you, buddy.
Watching.
That's good times. So last little section. I know we're going a little bit over. I hope you're okay with that.
As long as there's whiskey, I'm okay.
As long as there's whiskey, then we're still talking. I love it. Cheers. Skål. I guess I got to keep remembering skål. That's a Viking.
So when I first met you, you definitely could not have been the 5-foot Viking. You might have been the 5-foot Munchkin, but there was no beard. There was no beard.
Nope. No, I was clean shaven.
Kids.
I was clean shaven. I had short hair. I looked like I was going to business school, which is funny because I'm in business school now, and I look like this now. But I'm Greek, actually. I'm not Viking, but I'm my dad's side of the family is Greek. So I grow hair, like I get 5 o'clock shadow at noon. So I can, like, I've grown this beard in like 6 months, and I've already trimmed it twice. So like it's gonna be perfect for the biker cruise, though. I'm telling you, man. I'm gonna roll in there, and people are gonna be like, "What the shit?" Like, it's gonna be really good. So, but before we so since we're jumping out, last thing that I kind of want to talk about, and I don't want to get political or anything like that, but I did want to kind of talk just a little bit about we all know that when we were on the cruise line last year, and then we were coming back from the shutdowns, it was the weirdest thing, because we flew back into LA on Sunday the 15th, and then of March, and they shut down the country on the 17th. And what's weird is that as we're driving back, we're getting all these people, or as we're flying back, we're getting all these people texting us like, there's no toilet paper and there's no this and there's no that. And I was like, I leave for 2 weeks and y'all can't fucking hold it together. Like, it was the weirdest shit. And we landed at LAX on Sunday afternoon, which normally takes us to get home to Huntington Beach. It takes us about an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on traffic. We got home in 35 minutes. It was the weirdest thing. It was empty. And we went straight to a Target, and sure enough, no toilet paper. It was the weirdest thing. So going into 2020 like that, my question to you is, how did 2020 affect your business? And then how are you adapting and moving forward in 2021?
I became a hell of a big green egg chef.
I
I think Big Green Egg should sponsor me, right? Like, I could be the 7-foot Big Green Egg.
I'll look into it.
Look, I mean, 2020 killed the entertainment industry. You, us, everybody.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, because I just don't do the cruises. I'm lucky enough to at times go out and tour with different artists. And I mean, it's nothing, it was nothing. So that was a big blow. That was a really big blow. But the positive side of it is we've been able to take the time to evaluate how we do things. Evaluate, are we doing the best thing with audio? Are we doing the best thing with maybe this paperwork or that paperwork, whatever it is, and really taking the time to kind of step through and just try to become better, really just raise the bar. I know a lot of people have used it as a time to, learn a language or go to school or whatever. And then, as a company, we've just tried to do the same thing and just try to get in front of it.
So, yeah, I mean, I know it's unfortunate that some of the cruises had to be postponed, and yeah, that's rough because we were really looking forward to being. It's funny. I think on Facebook we were getting a lot of people putting up their memories from the previous year, like, oh, we should have been there right now. Like today, we should have been in Florida boarding for this, and yeah, it's unfortunate, but I love that we're still moving forward, and I like the fact that you guys are taking that time to. I mean, we are as well trying to take that time to learn a couple new tunes, maybe polish up a little bit of a show, because to be honest, when we used to work 6 nights a week, and then we went to working 0 nights a week, and my chops went away because then when I got a first gig, I came back and I'm like, oh, I forgot this fucking song. Yeah, I forgot. I need to relearn this song. Like, how often during the shutdown are you in contact with your team? Still, like all the time?
I mean, it's crazy as it's been. I feel like we're almost busier than ever because there's more paperwork, more more meetings, more seminars. We're doing so much Zoom. There's so much more of that now. That we're in contact constantly. I almost feel like we're all talking and communicating more than ever because you don't have that opportunity to get together as much. So you've been forced to do the Zoom calls, be in contact more, reach out, and not take for granted that everyone knows what's going on. So the constant communication.
Fuck yeah, dude.
But we're ready to get back and rock and roll.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm telling you, I can't wait to jump back onto a ship and get some motion sickness and then get over it and then drink a beer and just have some fun. But we got my dad in Utah signing off. Love you, Dad. I always appreciate your support. Going to bed. Love all the 5 Foot Viking family. Skull. Yes. Mark Leverton from the 80s Cruise. Love you guys. I think if I'm not mistaken, Mark, you're in Colorado. And absolutely love you, Mark. Thank you for supporting, always being there. This is interesting. Would you ever do a cruise in a different part of the world? And that's
we've done it.
Have we ever done any? Like, I mean, is there talks of maybe doing like a Mediterranean 80s cruise?
There's been talks of it. I mean, the problem with all of it is it always sounds good to everybody, right?
Yeah.
Like everybody's like, let's go here, let's go there. It's all great until they realize what the price is because
yeah, it's $18,000.
Yeah. I mean, the cruise lines rent the ship for more money. The flights are more money. Everything is just more. So, but we've done it. We've done stuff out of Europe before. We've done all that.
Wow. Okay. Well, with that being said, we're jumping into about an hour and 20. I wanted to take this time right now to turn the time over to you. Please let us know where people can get a hold of you or get a hold of ECP and stuff like that. And what do you have brewing in the backstage right now in the future?
Well, we are working on really the next 3 cruises for us is the High Seas Rally, which is the motorcycle cruise. A lot of fun. That's highseasrally.com. Then we have the Star Trek cruise, StarTrekCruise.com. The 80s cruise, obviously, which most everybody on here is familiar with, which is the80scruise.com. And that's what we're doing. I'm on Facebook. I know I'm friends with a lot of these people. Love hearing from everybody. Joey the Cruise Guy on Facebook. You can look me up. It's great. It's great sitting here talking with you, seeing you.
Dude,
Can't wait to see you in person. We got 3 cruises coming up, so we'll have a lot of time to catch up, have some beers.
I'm definitely looking forward to it, man. And seriously, I just want to say, thank you for taking time out of your day and jumping on with me and doing this and kind of, figuring out Wi-Fi's and stuff. This is all very new to me, and I'm just having fun with it. So the fact that you're taking time out of your day, it means a lot to me. Thank you for jumping on, bro.
Yeah, that's what we do. I mean, that's what it's all about. We love it. We love it.
All right, guys. With that being said, before we jump up, I just wanted to tell everybody that I think I have it right here. Next week, if you are in the Southern California area, I'm going to be doing my very first podcast where I'm going to do it live with people, with an audience. If anybody is in the Anaheim area, I'm going to be doing a live podcast on Tuesday night, April 20th, 7 p.m. It's going to be live from Decades Bar and Grill. Grab a drink, grab some tacos. I'm going to be interviewing the 3 owners from Taco ZK, which is Joe, Bryant, and Fabian. And please message me direct if you would like to get a table, because audience seating is available, but it's very limited. So that's there. I'm also going to post it on the Instagrams and the facial statuses and all the good stuff out there for the social medias. But with that being said, yeah.
I'm going to throw it back at you for a minute. So I think you got a good thing going here. I'm really proud of you. I'm glad you're doing this, but I think we should make you do one of these live on the 80s cruise.
Oh, I am so fucking down with this, dude. Let's talk. Let's make it happen. We'll do a 5-foot Viking on the High Seas Rally.
There you go.
We'll do it on the 80s cruise. We'll get some.
Yeah.
That'd be fun. I'm totally down. I'm scared out of my mind, but this is this is only my. I think I froze. Did I freeze? No, maybe I froze. I don't know.
Kind of. Yeah.
But I'm new to this, so I'm having fun with it and I'm enjoying it. But yeah, I'm totally open to that. So yeah. So, all right, you guys, thank you guys for joining. I think I have a few more comments before I jump. I wanted to, yes. Everybody's saying yes. We got Chuck saying yes. We got Marlene saying yes. Love it. Everybody, we should, okay. So it's done. We're going to do this. All right, you guys, thank you guys for joining us on the 5-Foot Viking podcast. And I think this is how you end it.